Well, thank you for joining me here, Mark. And we just came from our 40-minute keynote CEO panel at the beginning of PA360 here. What were the general views on the growing consolidation in the advice market at the moment?
Yeah, I guess I'm probably more positive towards it than negative in my outlook. I've been involved in private equity businesses in the past. I've seen the kind of model and the way that they operate. And I think really there's been a bit of a vacuum from a point of view of having singular large advisory businesses in the UK with the absenteeing of the providers in that market. So I think that there has been a gap or a vacuum in that I think pulling together businesses into single units will then perhaps concentrate on particular technologies that make the business better, make the industry better, who bring capital to be able to invest in that kind of thing. I think at this point of development, I think it's a good thing. I think it does bring it together. There are the caveats. There is the worry that things go rogue, people chase profit instead of good customer outcomes. I think that's very well managed from a point of view of the oversight models that we have in the UK. So I'm less concerned about that. And if that consolidation brings capital into our industry to be able to invest and consolidate, I think that's pretty good. I said on the stage, I don't think it's a forever thing, and maybe the consolidators will consolidate themselves. Yeah. But you could see some pretty significant businesses emerging in the UK in an advisory capacity that become household names and are known in our country, where people will gravitate towards them, and hopefully that helps with the advice gap.
I know you touched on technology there. How do you see technology changing financial advice as we move forward? Do you see things like hybrid advice come into effect? Do you see costs and fees coming down for clients? How do you see technology kind of affecting the day-to-day workings of advice?
Well, I think technology, the ability for technology to make things simpler, quicker, easier, and more accurate, I think is huge. I think the fact that it takes out some of the complexity around the products and pushes the more mundane, very important, but mundane stuff into the plumbing, and allows more time for the advisor to speak to the client, to understand more, make sure that they're doing the best for them. I think that's the key in technology for me. And so I see technology enabling that sort of face-to-face advisory activity. Over time, I think that will migrate down the age range. So, where we're dealing with somebody where it is a face-to-face, traditionally an older person speaking to probably an older person. If there's a digital component to that and a technology component to that, then that can lead back down the age range to the youngers. And might at some stage be fully digital, if it's very simple and setting up an ISA at the age of 18 or something like that. But between that and getting to the end of accumulation, going to deaccumulation, then I think that the sophistication is needed.
And I think that kind of leads us to ongoing advice versus one-stop shop advice, perhaps for younger clients who may not need, their situation assessing every year. Do you kind of see, that they'll receive advice in different ways, but do you think they'll also receive different types of advice?
I think they'll definitely receive different types of advice. I can't really see a situation where, as you're getting older, where you've got quite a large amount of investable wealth, that you're going to want anything other than a proper conversation. And I think you can never take away the fact that you do trust people, and you will have that relationship with an individual, which gives you a peace of mind. TEDit is famous for our purpose of providing financial peace of mind to people, and that's not just where it's invested. It's also what's going to happen to your children. What's your situation in regard to your bricks and mortar. It's the whole picture, and that's what an advisor takes into consideration when they meet you. It's not just the elements that will turn up on the telephone app. It's far more than that. So I think that's really the way that it'll develop, in my view.
Yeah. So would you kind of say that at the moment people tend to receive a similar kind of advice model, and in the future there'll be more options for people?
Definitely, yeah. And I think if you think about going down the age range, there might be just specific people. So if you want a piece of advice in regard to a mortgage, a particular type of mortgage that you want to have, for instance, or you have a particular interest in ESG investing, so definitely. And actually all of that capability is within our firms. It's a question, how do you access it? And creating that access allows people to pick and choose as they want. There's nothing wrong with the pay-on-use service. Again, prolific in lots of other industries. And it's a version of the full advice process.
Yeah. And would you say that regulator needs to kind of aid that changing advice model, or is the regulation and compliance already there for this to exist? Or do we need more support for simplified advice and guidance?
I think that there's probably some help from a point of view of guideways and simplifying the process in how it operates. I think from a point of view of safety and from a point of view of good oversight and risk management, I think we're in pretty good shape is what I would say. But sometimes perhaps needlessly complicated for the individual. So anything you can do with technology to simplify, I think, will help and improve the experience and therefore the participation of the individual. But I think regulation, yeah, it's probably not where it needs to be to facilitate some of that. But then on the flip side, I think the regulator is very keen was very keen on robo.
Yeah. I think that's a good point to end on there, Mark. Thank you very much for joining me in the bubble today.
Great, thank you very much indeed. Thanks, Tom.